I'm concerned about The Rock, man. You know, uh, after all those pictures were circulating and the footage of him losing all that weight, I already know what people were thinking. But yay, jumped off the gear. Um, but it was a little bit more than that for me. You know, I read the article, and I'll link that video. It talked about the article. And the article was saying that, well, he shaved off, I don't know, what was it, 40, 50 pounds, something like that, to play the smashing machine. Now, from what I understand, The Rock, excuse me, was at some point close to 300 pounds. At his biggest, after he became Hobbs, and that was the look that was really, skyrocketing him into orbit and movie fame. He kept that look, and there's the Rock diet that, went viral and guys were trying it. And I think I even did a reaction to one of those at one point. And one thing I noticed about The Rock, though, is that after he started that diet, after he started really getting into that look, is it me? But I noticed that he seemed to age considerably. Bodybuilders tend to have the death face, but it was more than that. It was something about how he looked. It seemed like it was taking a toll on his body. And I remember watching a bodybuilder the other day, and he was talking about, the diet that they're on and the stimulating insulin and stuff like that. And when you eat that many times a day and you eat that much food, it ages you prematurely. And I noticed, go look at him in Fast Five and just look at him like a few years later, like you shouldn't age that fast. And he still looked great, but it was like, wait a minute, And I'm a guy that's been in the gym since I was 18, so I know when I see guys, I know which guys compete and I know which guys don't compete. I know which guys are on gear and I know which guys aren't on gear. Now, could he be an absolute anomaly like Ronnie Coleman? Now, Ronnie Coleman, apparently this is the show. He was still natural in this, but after that is when he jumped on gear and started killing everybody. That's insane to be natural. I assume that there are other anomalies out there, but it's so rare that, the hundreds of, fake natty guys out there. It's like, can't that mean y'all be an anomaly? You know what I'm saying? But could he be? Maybe. He says he is. But I've seen plenty of people, doctors, trainers, and even my own eyes, just like, brother's on something. You can tell from the look of the skin. You could tell that the density of the muscle, the fullness, the skin, the vascularity. It's a complete package that lets you know when somebody's on something. You know what I mean? But I saw that clip from this video, and he's interviewed by a doctor, and he's talking about his health and his family's health, and he's talking about that whole thing with the heart and how they thought it was something. They thought it was like a blockage or buildup, and basically they're saying it was a scare, but it wasn't what they thought it was. You know what I mean? Many people believe. Oh, by the way, and when he was, they're saying that he dropped the weight for Smashing Machine. So if he was close to 300 at one time, I looked up what Mark Kerr was, and Mark Kerr used to fight at 255. They're saying he's 260 now. They're saying that The Rock is 260 now. Now, he's a big dude. I think he's really like 6'1", 6'2". I mean, 6'2" or 6'3". I don't think he's really 6'5", because I've seen him next to people they're 6'5", and he's not 6'5". He's not that height, so something's going on with that. But they tell you sometimes, wrestling and certain sports will make you shrink. Hulk Hogan shrank and everything. But my point is, so that's only 5 pounds away from Mark Kerr. So maybe he truly did lose it for that. But it could be a double. He could have did it for more than one reason. So what I'm getting from all the videos that I've watched on this, because so many people talking about him losing this weight, is that, yeah, sure, buddy, you dropped it for the fighting machine, but we also think you dropped it because of that heart scare. Like, a lot of people think that heart thing he talked about is way more serious than what he made it out to be. And that either right there or a little bit after that, he decided, look, I got a wife, I got children, I got family. There's more things I want to do. Let's jump off the gear, or let's drop the weight. Because the fact of the matter is this: whether you're natural or not, and you got that much weight on you, even if it's muscle, if it's too much, it can be too much for your heart, and it can cause a problem. Just as a strain on the heart. However, also you got to look at the diet. Certain things, I'm telling you, it's taken me so many years, but there's certain things that I ate coming up, and up until a few years ago, where it was like, I truly thought it was healthy. But the more and more that I studied, the more a particular doctor that I work with, I'm just like, and that's the reason why, I'm losing weight now, but that's the reason why I gained it, because there were certain additives in the food that were messing with me. And I found out that, like, I'm really sensitive to seed oils. So vegetable oil, and you see that, canola oil, all that, I can't have it. It messes with me too much. It makes me gain weight, and it stops up my liver. So that's what I found out dealing with my doctor. Like, I cannot mess with them, or I can't stay lean, and I grew up eating whatever I wanted. My mom never let me not eat nothing, and I was lean all the way up until early 40s, something like that, early to mid 40s, something like that. So it's just now where I'm in my 240s right now. I plan on getting it down, and I'm still working on it. So when I look at the diet and I look at all that, so you got his diet, his schedule, which is crazy, being the hardest worker in the room. That's what he was promoting, the waking up at 3 and the doing this and the doing that. And I'm like, God, he's got the weight of all these movies on him. He wrestles still. He's on TKO. He's got the tequila company. He's got the what's it called? The energy drink. I'm going to say Ouzo, and I know it's not that. It's something else. And whatever else he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's going to take its toll on you. And when I see him, it reminds me of, there was a point in my life when I was really stressed out. And I had dropped some weight at that point too, doing some fasting and stuff. But unbeknownst, I was more stressed out than I should have been. You should never fast when you're stressed, because it will show. His look in that picture reminds me of how I looked at a certain point in my life, and I didn't feel good. People thought I looked good, but I didn't think so. Like, I had a friend from the gym see a picture of me one time, and I was telling her, like, yeah, I dropped some weight to go to the show and do this, and and she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah. I was like, well, it was a bad picture, but at the same time, I know what you're saying, because, yeah, I look malnourished. I look sucked in, emaciated, you know what I mean? So there were people saying, well, at least he looks healthy now. I don't know about that. I don't know if you really have an eye for health if you're saying that, but, it is what it is, and I hope he gets whatever care he needs. But it concerned me, especially after, I already had it in my head, but just after watching so many other videos and looking at so many other comments, I was like, yeah, he probably did it for health reasons. And I personally think that he could have, because he was still, I think 260 is somewhere he could be lighter. Like, what did he go down to when, there's that picture that circulates of him with his hair combed back and he was really thin and, but he was still a big dude, kind of like Batista. Like, Batista was still like, I don't know, he's still like somewhere in his 240s to 260s or something like that. But it's because you're comparing it to what he used to look like. He seems so thin. Like, I think he could have played Hobbs without gaining all that weight. That's my personal view. I think he could have done Hobbs and every other movie that he did with that big frame. I personally don't think he needed to keep it. Needed to keep the weight. I don't. I think he could have been badass. Just make sure the clothes fit properly. Shave the head. I think he would have been fine. But, I just don't think that much is based on your body. You know what I mean? Not that much. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger over the years, even though he built it on that, he dropped weight. He's downsized considerably in Terminator 2 to Terminator 1. And he was killing it in movies after that. So you see what I'm saying? I don't think it was needed, but maybe in his mind it was needed. But I don't know him. You know what I mean? I don't know him. I'm just a fan, speaking my mind, and I hope he's okay. 10 million subscribers. Woo!